Hey everybody, and welcome to Aimee Music. This video is brought to you by my brand new Nebula class that drops today, Everything I Know About Chords, Part 2. We're talking about just the two of us today. It's amazing. It's one of the best chord progressions ever written, I think. It was written as an instrumental track at first by William Salter and Ralph McDonald. Ralph McDonald, who also wrote Where Is the Love for Donny Hathaway and Roberta Flack. And then a lyric was added by Bill Withers a little later. It was recorded by the great Grover Washington Jr. The rest is history. The chords are amazing. We're just going to hop right into it over at the piano. But I want to give you different levels today. I want to give you the very basics, bare bones for what you can play if you're just starting out or if you need to play just very simply. And I want to build up more till we get to crazy level 4, which are going to be some really fat, beautiful chords that I hope you love. Let's go over to the piano and get into it. I hear the crystal raindrops fall, and the beauty of it all is when the sun comes shining through. Get those visions in my mind when I think of you sometimes, and I want to spend some time with you. Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us. Yeah, there we go. Those were the first 3 levels. I want to say right off the bat that there's a PDF that comes with this video. You can click the card above my head to get it right now, or if you sign up for Nebula, more on that at the end of the video, it comes right along with the video. Yeah, we're going to be talking about all this kind of stuff today with just the two of us. These are great chords. D flat major, C7, F minor 7, E flat minor 7, A flat 7, to D flat major, C7, F minor 7. This song is in the key of F minor. And it starts on the 6th chord, 6th degree, with a major chord. Comes down to the 5 of F minor, then we have the 1, and now we're just simply going to do the 2 and the 5 of that 6th chord that we started on. So E flat minor to A flat 7 leads us right to D flat to start the whole thing over again. If you learn the chords to this song, if you learn the voicings to this song, all levels that we're talking about today, even if you just learned the easy ones, of course you can play just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us, you and I. Right? You can also play Are You Dripping in Finesse? It Don't Make No Sense by Bruno Mars. You can also play What You Won't Do for love. You tried everything, but you won't give up. Right? You can do that one by Bobby Caldwell too, What You Won't Do for Love. And there's probably a lot more songs out there. There's several songs that use a few of these elements. Like you could talk about you've been struck by a smooth criminal. At least that part goes for the Michael Jackson song Smooth Criminal, even though the rest of the song doesn't really. But you're going to see these kind of chords in a lot of places. I always say that the most 2 important notes of any chord are 3 and 7. If you start with 3 and 7 here, and then you go down, the chords just continue to go lower and lower, and it gets you very muddy. You never really want to play chords this low. It's kind of crazy to go past maybe a D or C. It starts to sound really muddy. So I like to start instead a D flat major 7. Instead of the 3rd on the bottom, I like to start with the 7 on the bottom. And this is our easy iteration. Then we move to 3 and 7 of C7, and it's just really easy. 3 of D flat gives way to 3 of C7, and 7 of D flat gives way to 7 of C7. And then the same thing happens. we move to F minor, and here's the 3 and here's the 7. And then here's the 3 and here's the 7 of E flat 7. And now here's the 7 of A flat 7, and here's the 3. So E flat minor 7 and A flat 7 have this note in common. And then this note stays in common between A flat 7 and D flat major 7. So that's a really easy move as well. And then we move to this C7, and we end up here, just about as low as we want to go on F minor 7. Now, you could just play this like I did at the beginning. I see the crystal raindrops fall. It sounds fine. If you want, I do have another video about how to play this song with a little more groove, and I talk about doing this kind of thing. Giving yourself a little bass line groove, but that's in my other video. Go ahead and click the card if you'd like to watch that entire video. But in that video, I don't get into these kind of chords as in depth as I'm going to in this video. Of course, you could also play the melody along with this, but it's kind of hard. That. You could add it on top and play this bare bones kind of easy level 1 harmony underneath, right? And that makes it. That one's kind of hard, but you could reach it here. There, I guess. Kind of a big reach, but you've got some options even just with this bare bones easy level 1, kind of just the two of us voicings. Let's move on to level 2. This gets a little bit crazier, but it still uses the bare bones of what we've already done. These notes will still appear just like they did before. We're just going to add to them. As you can see, we've got 4-note voicings going on here. What I like to do is to add the 9 and to add the 13. It gives you a really lush sounding D flat major chord. Then when we move to C7, we're going to keep that 7 and 3, but we're going to add a couple of notes. We're going to add sharp 9 and sharp 5. Or you could think of it as flat 13 if you want to, but it sounds so hip, right? And these are notes that we can, that show up in F minor, right? The A flat. E flat is also a note that comes from an F minor scale. So we've got here, there. Now when we move to this minor chord, we're going to keep the 3rd and 7, but we're going to add 5 and 9. I have these little rules that I tend to follow when I play, and you can find out more about those rules if you go to my video called Aimee's Jazz Bible. I talk about how on minor chords, it sounds nice to play the 5 and it sounds nice to play the 9. So I do it a lot. And we're going to move to E flat minor 9 also. Same thing, there's the 3rd and 7, but we'll have 5 and 9. Then the cool thing is to get to the next chord, which is A flat 13, all you have to do is move 1 note. This one becomes the 7, this one becomes the 9, the 3, the 13. They all kind of take on different roles. And now we come to D flat major 7 in another inversion. So it's the exact same notes that we started with, but now we've worked our way down so that the notes of A flat 13 lead us so nicely to D flat major 7. And then we're going to do another inversion of C7 altered, or C7 sharp 5 sharp 9. Up here we had it there, now we've got it there, and we'll end with another inversion of F minor 9. So by playing this song, you're learning 2 different inversions of every chord, pretty much. Yeah, I think every single chord you're learning, except for the 2-5, except for the E flat 9 to A flat 13. You're not learning 2 inversions of that. If you wanted to do those, you could. It would be here. They fit really nicely, and it's not too hard. But yeah, you're learning this inversion of D flat major along with this inversion. You're learning this one of C7 altered along with this one. You're learning an F minor 9 right there and also one right there. So this is very useful. Of course, when you do this, you could also do what I talk about in my other video where you add a groove. And to do that, you just you're kind of taking your chord here, breaking it up. If you want to add a little bit of a groove, but I kind of like to break it up between hands. Again, I go over more of that stuff in the other video. One thing I want to mention is that when you get to this 2-5, this E flat 9 to A flat 13, there's a cool little trick that you can do. Right between F minor 9 and E flat minor 9, you can just stick an E minor 9 in there as well, because it sounds really hip to go, I see the crystal raindrops fall, right here, and the beauty of it all. It just makes for a really nice passing tone to move from F minor, E minor, E flat minor really quickly. And you could do that in the bare bones version as well. If you wanted to, that just adds another little level of spiciness within the level. Let's move on to level 3. Now, the first 2 levels assume that you don't have a bass player. If you don't have a bass player, you're going to be playing these roots, right? Whether or not you add a groove, you're going to be the one holding down the bass. And sometimes you have to do that as a piano player. But sometimes you have a bass player. If you have a bass player, you want to let go of these notes. You don't want to get in that bass player's way for anything. So what we have to do is we have to take these other notes that we've been playing as chord voicings, and we have to kind of spread them out. Here's what it looks like. Now you have to imagine in your head that you've got a bass player holding down that root. These are called open voicings. The other voicings we played in the middle level, in level 2, were closed voicings. Now all we're doing, basically, is we're just taking one of these notes and putting it on the bottom. So it's the second note from top. We just take it and put it on the bottom. So this first chord actually has an A flat in it instead of a B flat, because I think for this kind of music, for playing R&B, when you open up your voicing like this and you don't have it all crunched tight, I think it sounds a little bit better to replace the 13 with the 5. Of course, that's up to you. If you wanted to play a 13 on it, you could. But I think it sounds a little more grounded to have the 5 on that major chord here. Now, we're just going to take the exact same chord we had before, but it's in a different order. So instead of having the E buried in the middle, now it's on the bottom. It's just a different order. Same here. Then we're going to hop up. Can you hear how that, even though the bass notes are not there, it's still beautiful harmony, and you can hear those in your head and kind of imagine that you have a bass player. You could also put on a play-along track if you don't have the iReal Pro, or I think it's just called iReal now, app. That's a great one, and it can put on a beautiful bass line and, adequate bass line, adequate drum beat to play along with. But I also have like a second level within this level 3. It's like a 3B, I suppose. Because if you want to have some moving lines, that's a great thing to do too. So you can see that the little quarter notes give you this little counter melody. And it kind of goes like this. Which sounds really nice against the melody. I hear the crystal raindrops fall, and the beauty of it all is when the sun comes shining through. You might save this for, when the song has progressed a little bit and in, you know, maybe like the third verse comes in toward the end, or maybe you're having a solo going on. Like, this is just a little something extra that you can add to add just a little more harmonic movement to your chords. And it's not to say that you couldn't play the closed voicings if you wanted when you have a bass player. You could. You could play them here, just like, you know, in level 2. You could do that during the first verse of the song. Then the second verse comes along and you decide to open it. See that difference? Just having this bottom note kind of changes everything. It gives you another layer as a player. You could also invert everything if you wanted to. You could, instead of having 3, 7, 9, and 5, you could put 7, 3, 5, and 9. You could do them up here if you needed to play higher. That could also work just fine. You can see that when we get to that second D flat chord, I have put the 13 back in there, haven't I? So even though I said that I wanted to start with the 5 on top at the beginning, right? When we get down here, I went ahead and added the 13 back instead of the 5. Of course, that could be up to you, but at this point, it was going to be a really nice stack of perfect fourths, which is always a great little trick to use as a piano player because it just has a warmth to it and also a tension to it. And we're going to see more of that in level 4 right now. So, still assuming that we have a bass player, but we want to play some fat chords. We want to play some lush chords because whatever is happening in the song calls for it. Maybe your saxophone player is really getting into it on their solo, so you want to just start really like providing a different kind of support, and that's what these chords will do. Just the two of us, we can make it if we try. Just the two of us, you and I. That might be my favorite of all of them. I'm not sure. The other one that I did for F minor is a good one too. No, that one's my favorite. All right, at least for now it is. But I'm using this idea of stacking fourths mostly when I'm building these huge kind of 6 and 7 note chords. So the very first one starts on the 3rd of D flat major 7. Then we've got the 13, the 9, the 5, the 1. And that's 5 notes that are all a perfect fourth apart. It's a really cool thing that you can do with major chords. If you just start on the 3rd, you can build up. And even though it's not super hip to put the root in your chord, if it's a part of, if it's the 5th note of a bunch of stacked fourths, you can totally do it because, I mean, that's just cool. So I'm also doubling right here because oftentimes if you put an octave in your right hand when you're playing these great big chords, it's got a nice open sound, and it also gives you a chance to make a counter melody like we did before. So from here we're going to move to C7. We're going to have 3, 7, sharp 9, sharp 5, or flat 13. I'm going to add a flat 9, and we're going to double the sharp 5, and then we're going to walk it down. So then we're going to have a regular 5 to keep that exact same melody that we had going on in level 3, because I like it. Now, here's what I said was my favorite chord. Here we're taking, it's like a spread triad of an A flat major chord, but it's F minor, right? So we've got 7, 3, and 5. Now we're building a few fourths right in the middle. So we have 5, 1, and 11. 11's a great note on a minor chord. And then I'm going to double that minor 7 right here that I had down there. And I'm actually playing a 9th here with my right hand until I resolve that little melody that we're doing. So we got this sweet F minor 11 chord. Now, 3, 5, flat 7, 9 of E flat, and we're gonna add 11 here because we're trying to make it really lush and it sounds good. We're gonna double the 5, we're gonna add the 9 up here, and I'm gonna have 2 moving notes right here. it. That sounds so cool. It's the same as before, but we've just got them happening in a tenth apart, right? The interval is a tenth, so that sounds beautiful. Now when we get to D flat major 7, this time we're gonna go stack of fourths again, but this time I'm gonna put just a triad on the top, an A flat major triad, which is 5, major 7, and 9. A lot of times putting triads on the top of your fourths chords can really sound nice, and especially we're gonna take both of these notes and walk them down to keep our little melody going on. And now we're gonna go. This one we've got 3, flat 7, flat 9, double up the 3, sharp 5, double up the flat 9. This is kind of one of the more boring chords. I thought about doing something like that, like adding a flat 5 in there, but I kind of like this. I think it's sad, and then it leads us so nicely to this nice iteration of F minor 11. So same notes we had before in our F minor 11, but now we're just, instead of playing way up high and doing this one, we've walked ourselves down. You'll notice all of these chords, they walk down. Right, just down, 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 down. And that usually happens with all the songs that we're ever going to play. Western harmony, in its circle of fifths kind of nature, just will always go down, down, down. And then you can use your moments to hop back up when you want to. But I think that by starting with major 7 on the bottom, which we do in just about, well, we do in 2 of the cases here, but if you start with that on the bottom, you're going to be fine. You're going to end up this low. And if you start like in level 3 with 3rd on the bottom, you're going to start to get too low here. So we're going to hop up. Right? Instead of doing it down low, that would get too muddy. So you want to use your brain, but as you hop around through these inversions, just keep that in mind. Try not to get any lower than this C if you can. Otherwise, like I said, you're into the bass player's frequency, and they're not going to like that. The kind of chords that we talked about today in levels 2 and 3 especially are exactly what I cover on my brand new course from Nebula called Everything I Know About Chords Part 2. I've already released Part 1, and it's a little bit more simple. After you've watched Part 1, Part 2 is next. Do I have to include every single one of these notes every time? Like D, F sharp, A, C, E, and B, all of those notes every time? No. You're in charge, and you've got a lot of choices. We talk about all kinds of exciting things. If I was singing this note, I wouldn't want to have to hop up to this note when I could just go this note to this note. I literally take you through just about every kind of chord I can possibly think of. And we talk about how to apply them on the piano, even put them in a song or two. The last note that you can add, at least that I'll talk about, to decorate your minor chord is the 11. Remember, the 11 is okay in one spot. It's always going to be a minor chord if you're going to be able to really play an 11. Cry. You can get Part 2 of my class as well as Part 1. You can get my class about how to create meaningful jazz motifs for improvisation. You can get my class with Adam Neely about the blues, and you can get all of Nebula. If you click on the code right here on the screen, $30 for the entire year gets you every class I've ever made or ever will make, as well as the whole Nebula platform, which means all of my videos that are normally on YouTube, plus extra videos, plus extended cuts of videos with, clips from music like I wish I could play on YouTube, but I'll get a copyright strike even if it's fair use. Again, it's a big discount if you use my code. $30 gets you everything I've talked about for the entire year. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next time on Aimee Play Music.